Good morning everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss current affairs. For mobile optimized ebooks, please install GKToday Academy app. For regular updates, please join our Telegram channel. The link is given in the description box. Now we have started a new channel, Civils Academy, so you can subscribe to it if you find it relevant. Now let's start. Who represented India in Australia, India, Japan ministers meeting on supply chain resilience? So Indian side was represented by Mr. Piyush Goyal. Now what is this SCRI? That is Supply Chain Resilience Initiative. So the idea behind this initiative is to decrease dependency on China or to reduce the dominance of China in the region. And for this, these three countries, Australia, India and Japan, have collaborated. Now it is important to note that recently Australia was also in news as India upgraded its 2+2 dialogue with Australia. Previously it was of secretariat level. Now it is of ministerial level. What is the meaning of 2+2 dialogue? It means Defense Minister and Foreign Minister. That means Defense Minister and Minister of External Affairs from our side, and similarly Defense Minister and Minister of External Affairs from their side. Previously it was of secretariat level. Now it has been upgraded to ministerial level. Apart from Australia, we have similar 2+2 level mechanism with USA and with Japan. Now with all these three countries, we have 2+2 of ministerial level. Now recently Australia was also in news because of Malabar exercise. Malabar is a naval exercise and USA, India and Japan are the key participants in this exercise. Recently India decided to send invitation to Australia. Apart from that, recently Australia, India and few other countries were also in news because of D10. So this D10 grouping is an initiative by UK. Answer in comment box, what is the objective of this initiative? As per the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, who surpassed Mark Zuckerberg to become the third richest person in the world? So now Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, is the third richest person and he recently surpassed Mark Zuckerberg. Jeff Bezos of Amazon and Bill Gates of Microsoft are on top 2 positions. Now recently Jeff Bezos was also in news as he became the first person ever worth $200 billion. Jeff Bezos was also in news as his company Amazon acquired Zoox. What is Zoox? It is a company of self-driving cars. Which Indian state or union territory launched its third Sero Survey to check for the antibodies against COVID-19? So this was started by New Delhi. Now what is the meaning of Sero Survey? It means to test your blood serum for the antibodies. So two key terms are antigen and antibody. Antigen is some foreign substance, for example virus, bacteria. Whenever any foreign substance enter into our body, our immune system get activated and our immune system start producing these antibodies to eliminate this antigen. Now coming back to New Delhi, New Delhi was also in news as recently it announced that it is going to restart its vaccination and immunization programs which were stopped temporarily because of COVID-19. It was also in news because of new electric vehicle policy. It was also in news because of Rozgar Bazaar. Now coming back to electric vehicles, so recently India's first electric vehicle charging plaza was inaugurated in New Delhi. Which institution has estimated that India's real GDP for fiscal year 21 will contract by 10.9%. So this was by a research report of SBI and the name of this report is Eco-Rap. Now there is a term real GDP. Please read about it. What is real GDP? How is it different from nominal GDP? Now coming back to SBI. So recently SBI was also in news because recently Bank Board Bureau recommended Dinesh Kumar Khara as next chairperson of SBI. SBI was also in news as recently Ashwini Bhatia has been appointed as next MD of SBI and Ashwini Kumar Tiwari was appointed as next MD and CEO of SBI Cards and Payment Services. On the other hand, Vinay Tonse was appointed as the MD and CEO of SBI Mutual Funds. Answer in comment box recently who was appointed as the MD and CEO of SBI General Insurance. As per the recent data from NPCI, which mode of payment clocked 1.62 billion transactions in August 2020. So it is UPI, that is Unified Payments Interface. So as per recent information by NPCI, the UPI based payments clocked 1.2 billion transactions. Now recently NPCI was also in news as it launched artificial intelligence based virtual assistant, and the name of this assistant is Pi. What is NPCI? It is National Payments Corporation of India, and few important products of NPCI are RuPay, that is RuPay card, National Common Mobility Card. So these are related to transportation sector, and recently these cards were launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Then Bheem is also a product of NPCI. Bheem stands for Bharat Interface for Money. Next, UPI is also a product of NPCI, and Bharat Bill Payment System is also a product of NPCI. The historic commercial direct flight has been operated between which two countries? So these two countries are Israel and UAE, and recently a historic peace deal was signed between these two countries, and both countries agreed to normalize the diplomatic ties, and this agreement is known as Abraham Accord. So now UAE is the first Gulf country, that is Persian Gulf country, to establish diplomatic ties with Israel. Israel had signed such peace agreements with Egypt and with Jordan. So with Egypt it was signed in 1979, and with Jordan it was signed in 1994. Now recently Israel was also in news because of Operation Breathing Space. Israel was also in news as recently Uttar Pradesh government collaborated with Israel for the Bundelkhand water crisis issue. Israel was also in news because of OFAC 16. Apart from that, two Israeli assault rifles, Arad and Carmel, will now be manufactured in India. Who has taken charge as the first leader of opposition in Singapore? Now why it is special? Because the opposition leader is of Indian origin, and his name is Pritam Singh. So Indian origin politician of Singapore took charge as the first leader of opposition in Singapore, and he is associated to Workers' Party. Now recently Singapore was also in news as recently Indian origin nurse Kala Narayan Swamy was conferred with the President's Award in Singapore. So she is Indian origin nurse. Singapore was also in news because of DPD. What is DPD? It is Defense Policy Dialogue. So recently India-Singapore Defense Policy Dialogue was organized. Apart from that, Singapore was also in news as it is the top performer as per Economic Freedom Index. Which bank launched a virtual property exhibition named Home Utsav? So this has been launched by ICICI Bank. So it is virtual exhibition, and the real estate projects promoted by the renowned developers would be showcased in this virtual exhibition. Now ICICI was also in news as recently People's Bank of China acquired stakes in ICICI. Recently China was in news as Global Manufacturing Risk Index was released, and as per this index China is on top position. This index is topped by China, and India is on third position. USA is on second position as per this Global Manufacturing Risk Index. Now China was also in news as it is among the top countries that have recorded the maximum growth in the forest area during last decade, and this is as per GFRA. What is GFRA? It is Global Forest Resource Assessment. This assessment was released by FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization. The headquarters of FAO is in Rome in Italy. Now as per GFRA, the maximum forest growth was in case of China. India is on third position in terms of gained forest area. Now Rome is in Italy, and Italy is going to be the host of G20 summit in 2021, while India is going to host G20 summit in 2022. The Supreme Court has allowed how many years for the payment of pending AGR dues to the government by telecom operators? So telecom operators were given 10 years to pay their pending AGR due. What is AGR? It is adjusted gross revenue. It is important to note that top court also held that 10% of the total due should be paid before 31st of March 2021. So two important conditions are there. Entire due has to be paid within 10 years, but 10% of the due has to be paid before this 31st of March 2021. Now what exactly is this AZR? See, telecom operators need to pay license fee and spectrum charges to the government. So these are the telecom operators. Now these telecom operators need to pay charges to the central government for using the spectrum. Now the entire argument is based on one simple fact. Telecom companies are saying that only telecom revenue should be considered when they have to pay charges. What does that mean? That means they are saying that non-telecom revenue should not be considered when they have to pay AZR. On the other hand, Department of Telecommunication is of the view that the entire revenue of that particular telecom company should be considered when it have to pay fees to the central government. Now this fees is decided on the basis of revenue earned by that particular company along with other charges. Which country has amended its labor laws and raised the minimum wages to laborers by 25%? So this country is Qatar. Capital of Qatar is Doha. Currency of Qatar is Qatari Riyal, and it has increased the minimum wage by 25% to 1000 riyals per month. Now the country also scrapped infamous rule of kafala system, and now the workers in Qatar need not to get permission from their employers to change the job. Previously, under this kafala system, it was mandatory for a worker to get permission from their employer in case if they want to change their job. Now this was applicable to the migrant workers. Now the capital is Doha. Recently Doha was in news because of US Taliban deal. Taliban is a militant group of Afghanistan. Recently Afghanistan was in news because of a term Loya Jirga. Answer in comment box, what is this Loya Jirga? Who has recently won the Western and Southern Open tennis tournament? So Novak Djokovic has won this Western and Southern Open tennis tournament, and this is his 35th Masters title in USA. And with this, Novak Djokovic created history, and he became the only male tennis player to win every Masters event twice. By what percentage of Indian economy has contracted in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year? So recently official data was released by NSO, and as per the official data of first quarter, Indian GDP contracted 23.9% in the first quarter of this year when it is compared with the first quarter of last year. Two important things. First, it is related to only Q1, that is first quarter. Second is that it has been released by NSO. Now what is NSO? It is National Statistics Office, and NSO has been created after the merger of CSO and NSSO. Now what is CSO? It is Central Statistical Office, and what is NSSO? It is National Sample Survey Office. So these two were merged and a new organization was created. It is National Statistical Office, and it is under MOSPI. What is MOSPI? That is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So NSO is headed by MOSPI Secretary. Which organization released a survey that finds that over half of the 25 kinds of health services are disrupted due to COVID-19. So it is released by WHO. WHO stands for World Health Organization, and as per this survey, it was reported that half of the 25 kinds of health services were disrupted because of COVID-19. So for example, immunization services were affected, the diagnosis and treatment of non-communicable diseases were affected. WHO is World Health Organization. It was founded in 1948. Headquarters is in Geneva. Geneva is in Switzerland. Recently, WHO was also in news because of COVAX. COVAX is an alliance to ensure that vaccines can be accessible by each and every country. Now, the major partners in COVAX alliance are Gavi, WHO, and CEPI. What is CEPI? It is a public-private partnership organization which has been developed for the vaccines. What is Gavi? So Gavi stands for Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. CEPI stands for Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. So these were the most important questions of today's video. Now we are going to cover important news. Feel free to skip it if you do not like the format, but make sure that you cover these events from any other shows. So first news is related to accidental deaths and suicides in India 2019 report. So this report was recently released by NCRB. NCRB is National Crime Record Bureau. It is under MHA, that is Ministry of Home Affairs. So as per this report, Delhi recorded the highest number of road accidents, deaths among the cities. Report was by NCRB. Next is GTAM, that is Green Term Ahead Market. So recently this was launched and it is new model introduced for selling of the power by the renewable developers in the open market without signing long-term PPA, that is power purchasing agreement. So focus is on green, that means on the renewable energy, and they can sell without signing long-term power purchasing agreements. Next is International Commission of Jurists. So recently this commission was in news as it mentioned that the conviction of Prashant Bhushan for criminal contempt of court by the Supreme Court is inconsistent with the freedom of expression which has been guaranteed by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So it was mentioned by ICJ. Now it is International Commission of Jurists. It is a non-governmental organization. The headquarters is in Geneva. Next is 118 mobile apps. So recently government banned these 118 mobile applications, and this has been done by MEITY, that is Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Next is Mission Karam Yogi. So it is a national program for civil service capacity building, and it has been launched to prepare the Indian civil servants so that they can be more creative and constructive and they can solve problems in a much better way. Next is seaplane service between Ahmedabad and Statue of Unity. So Gujarat government will officially launch this first ever seaplane service between Ahmedabad and Statue of Unity on the birth anniversary of Sardar Patel. Next is Kiara Advani. So recently she was in news as she has been appointed as the new brand ambassador of Myntra. Next is M. Veera Lakshmi. So recently she was in news as she has been appointed as India's first woman ambulance driver, and she is associated to Tamil Nadu. Next is Mujib Borsho. So the government of Bangladesh has announced that 2020 to 2021 will be celebrated as Mujib Year. What is the significance? It is the 100th birth anniversary of founding father of Bangladesh. Who was the founding father of Bangladesh? He was Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and present Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, is the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Her party is Awami League. Next is India's first toy manufacturing cluster. So this is going to be in Karnataka. Next is AIR scanner. So this has been developed by the students of IIT Bombay, and this scanner app has been developed by two students. One is Rohit Chaudhary and second one is Kevin Agrawal. So it is a document scanner application. Next is first ever cycling event. So CFI, that is Cycling Federation of India, is going to host the first ever cycling summit in 2021, and this will be hosted in Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore. Next is world's largest solar power generation company. So as per Mercom Capital, Adani Green Energy Limited is the world's largest solar power generation company. Next is Rabobank's Global Top 20. So recently it was in news as Amul became the first Indian dairy company to enter in the top 20 list of Rabobank, and this list has been topped by Nestle. Nestle is a company of Switzerland. Next is Dinesh Pant. So recently IRDAI, that is Insurance Sector Regulator, has set up a new committee to study the index linked products for life insurance companies. Next is Commonwealth of Cricket. So this is a book authored by Ramchandra Guha. Next is The One and Only Sparkella. So this is a book by Hollywood actor Channing Tatum, and this is his first child's book. Next is September 2nd. So this was celebrated as World Coconut Day. Next is Hampi, Inspired by the Past Going into the Future. So this is a webinar which was organized by Ministry of Tourism. Hampi is a site in Karnataka. It is UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this Ministry of Tourism organized this event under Dekho Apna Desh series. Next is Vikas Battalion. So it is SFF, that is Special Frontier Force, and recently it was in news because it occupied key heights on LAC. LAC is between India and China. So it occupied key heights on LAC with China in Ladakh so that it can prevent any occupation by Chinese troops. Next is Rakshak. So Central Railways has designed this health assistant robot Rakshak. And last news is 100 million ton coal gasification. So this is our target by 2030. That means India aims for 100 million coal gasification by 2030. So these were the most important events of today's video. Thank you, and that's all for the day.